All right. So what we're looking at here is we're going to be drawing an orthographic view of this utility knife. And so obviously we know what a utility knife is. It's essentially a box cutter. And so what we're looking at is this form, and we're gonna essentially make it to something like this. And we are also learning, if you look at this, the reason why it is not just a straight object is that it forms into the hand. And so they call that ergonomics. And ergonomics is essentially the interaction between humans and machines. There's a lot more to it than that. There's data, there's all sorts of way that they've come through ergonomics, and all that data, it's usually from the military where they have most of it. But you know, we're looking at something that's comfortable to the hand. So part of the drawing activity I want you to do is put this little V shape in there. All right. And so again, I'm giving you the liberty of designing this how you want. But if you look at this worksheet, essentially what we're going to do is model this in this format where you're having what we're saying is the side view, top view, and front view. All right, that's the way that this exercise is doing it. So if you look at where we're going to end up here, it's going to be something like this. And so we want to draw something like this. If your design doesn't look quite like this, that's fine. If you want to copy this exactly, that's fine too. But the point is that we want to have a front view, top view, and side view. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to start with my side view. So my side view of this is going to be, I want to make sure that I'm doing this about the right dimensions. So if I'm looking at my ruler here, and a utility knife is going to be about 5 inches. If yours is smaller, that's okay. If it's not, it's okay too. But what I want you to see is how the top of the front view and the top of the line up, and then the corresponding view also lines up. So what I mean by that is this. So I'm going to draw essentially a rectangle. And so I'll go ahead and just draw a line across. And then I said that I want my utility knife to be about 5 inches. And so I'm going to leave a little gap between the two. So really it's up to you. I'm going to give a gap of about 2 inches. All right. So then I would typically use a T-square here. And so a T-square, I don't see my T-square, is 90-degree angle. So you want to try to be as close as you can to a 90-degree angle as possible. And so it would look like that, right? So 90-degree angle. And so then what I would do is I'm going to come down here at my 90-degree angle. All right. And so then I have to ask myself, what is my utility knife going to look like? And so I don't really know at this point, all right? But I'm going to make it look something like this. So what I'll do then is I'm going to just kind of draw this out. So I know that it's going to have this little V shape here, and then the handle is going to be here. There's probably a place where I can a button for the utility knife, and I'm just going to make something that resembles something like this. All right, and so it goes like this. All right, so and you can kind of make this however you want. I try not to make it too complicated because we're going to be taking this into the computer as the next phase of this. All right, so I'm just adding some little features here, and I'm doing this extremely rough, which is fine. And so that's where my blade's going to come out, or something like that. All right, so I've got this. All right, so something like that. And then before I get too carried away, I need to see what my front of this is going to look like. So the way that works is if that's going to be, I need to take this and move it over. So if you notice, it'll be something like this over. All right. And so again, I don't really know the thickness of this, but I'm going to guess that I'm going to make this for now. We'll just make this about an inch. So it'll be about an inch wide. So then this one's coming down about 2 inches also. And honestly, the book has this backwards. This would normally be the bottom view, but we're going to call this the top view. So we're going to say this is the side view. This is going to be our front view. And this is going to be our top view. It's actually not a standard way of doing it, but that's okay. And so this is not a drafting class, so it's not going to be perfect. But what I do want to say is I want you to think about if the front of this, if you're looking at the front of the object, and we said it's going to be 1 inch, all right, and then I'm saying for mine that this is 5 inches. If I'm looking at this utility knife, and let me draw it out. So, for example, that's where the blade is. It's coming out, and it's going to be centered on this object. I've just arbitrarily decided it's 1 inch. Yours can be whatever you want. But so then, if this is where my utility blade is coming out, that's the blade right there. And then the body is behind it. So it's probably going to do something like, let's resemble something like, all right, something like this. All right. Okay, so there's my front. So if the looking at the front of my object is 1 inch, the top looking down, it has to be the same width. It's like a basketball, right? So if you're looking at a basketball from the front or top, it's going to be the same. Or a car, if you're looking at it from the top or the front view, it's going to be the same width. So I've already said this is 1 inch. So then the top of this, now what I have to figure out is, all right, I'm going to probably have a little button. So if I'm looking at this drawing here, they've got a little button right over there near the top. So I'll put a little button on this thing. So there'll be a button over here on the same area. So I'm going to make this button right there. And then I'm saying that's going to be about 1/2 inch. So I'll bring this down. And this is called an orthographic view. And so there's it. And I said it was going to be 1/2 inch centered. So that's going to be it right there. So that's my button right there. All right. And then I'm going to have this. And again, you're kind of designing it as you go along. So just for kicks here, for giggles here, I'm going to have this back kind of a little bit rounder, and it's going to kind of be round. And I don't really know what this is going to look like, but I'm going to have it come in and then back out. And it's going to do something like this. All right. So that is essentially my design. And again, I'm just doing it on the fly here. So, and then there's my blade, right? Something like that. So then I probably want to, if you're doing this, we have a button there. There's a little screw that they're using to build this with. So the screw would be over there, something like that. And that's essentially all we need to do. Now, what I'd like to do, though, and what I'd like you to do is to clean it up a little bit. So if you look at what we did here, I'm probably about this stage here, and then I'm going to go down and I'm going to just kind of start cleaning it up. Now, a lot of people will use different kind of paper, and I think so. There is vellum, which you probably don't have, but a lot of designers would then take the existing concept, and they would take a sheet of vellum, and they would do something like they go over it, right? And so then their next round, they would then clean it up a little bit. It's okay if you don't have vellum. We're happy to erase, but that can be very helpful, so you don't have to keep erasing. So now what I'm going to do is just clean this up, and I'll be done with this portion. And again, this is not a exercise where we're really spending as much time on every little minutia of this design. What I want you to do is just get the overall shape that you're happy with on the 3 views, which is going to be the side, top, and front. And then we'll take this and we'll be bringing it into the computer. Now, there's things that I might want to do, which is make this a little bit more friendly. So there's going to be little buttons here where people are going to put their fingers. I may want to space these out a certain way. I may want to have them come down. And so I may have some other features here that I could probably clean up a bit, things like this. All right, so these little design features, and I'm really copying a lot of this from this little activity. And so that's really it for what I'm doing here. I'll just clean this up a little bit before. And then the other thing I want to do is you want to make sure things are centered. So the fastest way to find the center of a rectangle is to just kind of go from the corners, and that'll give you the center. And then I'll make this parallel. And so you want to try to make things symmetrical, even though, believe it or not, we can do that very easily in the computer because we're only going to be modeling half of this, and it'll rotate around the other side. All right, so I just want you to get a form that you like, and then that you can bring in. So then I'll scan this in, and I'll bring it into AutoCAD, and or excuse me, we're going to bring this into the Fusion 360 software. But do take your time on this. I'm going rather quickly, but come up with a shape that speaks to you and has some of the little design features. In hindsight, I don't know if I do this, but it's all good. It'll help me. So if you're not sure what to do, you could certainly just end up with an object just like this, if that would make you more comfortable. But what you need to do is scale it, right? So make it to a size that is big enough that you can work with. Okay. All right.